Yeah, Nebraska played really well in the first half, but we were able to get like 12 turnovers. I think in the first half we just didn't give ourselves a chance enough. We did some things right, but um, yeah, that deficit was something that was hard to come back from. So. I don't think it's like an individual thing. I just know that Flan just tried to pump us up over half and told us that we could do it. So we just needed to work on ball movement, and I was just lucky enough to get open for my teammates moving around. So just like moving the ball more helped everybody.
I think just getting up and pressuring them, giving them a little bit. In the first half, we were just kind of letting them walk the ball up the floor. They were way too comfortable, especially in our house. And I guess in the second half, we just came out and tried to get after them, get them uncomfortable, and they started getting frazzled.
I think we believed we could win the game from the beginning. We just needed to have a little more focus and attention to detail to follow through with the game plan. But going in we think we can win every game. So we need to buckle down that first half.
I'd say, I mean, for me, it didn't feel like we hit a wall. I think the biggest thing was we just kind of, that was time that we ran out of at the end. That was an extra minute or two that we needed at the end. It wasn't, because we got it back rolling again. So I wouldn't say it was it's just a wasted amount of time.
But if you could have actually.
Yeah, it would have been nice to, get it to a 2-point game, with 2 minutes left as opposed with, 30 seconds left. That would have been. Just keep getting her the ball. She was great tonight, especially from the 3-point line, and they weren't respecting her out there either. So, I think she showed some people what she's been working on over the summer.
My teammates, my coaches, we get in several times a week and just shoot, and our coaches are there, rebounding for us. So just having them there and knowing that those shots we can make those in practice, it just makes it easier to do in games.
Yeah, definitely. She's the starter of their offense. So if you can slow her down, get her a little off, like Marissa was able to do, it's going to affect their whole team. And I think that was really helpful in the second half.
Yeah, Marissa, her being a scorer, she kind of knows how she wants to have the ball. So just knowing that and knowing how to guard the next scorer, it just kind of helps her a little bit too.
Laudermill's a great one-on-one defender. They were also, they were picking their spots of who they wanted to help off of too, and clogging the lane up a little bit. So when you've got, it's hard enough for Marissa to beat Laudermill, and then to have a second defender there, and that's hard.
You learn everything from every loss. So, it'd be nice to win, but just sometimes losing can help you later on in conference to see what you need to work on, what people are exposing you to. So, I guess it's not ideal to have this record, but hopefully it'll help us in the long run.
Final question.
I'd just say, there's a reason, Flan schedules like this, and we'd like to have this one. We'd like to have Wichita State, but it's going to make us better in the long run for conference, like Lex said.
Well, I've told a few people I need to start giving my halftime speech in the pregame because the last 2 games have been really tough to sit through first halves. But I like our fight, and we've bought in. I don't know. Maybe it's the mark of a young team, but I think we buy in a little bit better when we find out that some things don't work. And in the first half, our player movement and our ball movement wasn't nearly as good, and therefore we struggled a lot more offensively. And then I think when our players look up and see 17 at half, 17 points, there's just a little bit greater willingness to do what we need to do offensively. But credit goes to Nebraska. Obviously, Katie and Terrio showed up big, but also I thought the shots that Allie Havers hit late, the ones that we wanted, that we were willing to give up and wanted her to shoot, and then Sample stepped up and made free throws, and she hasn't, percentage-wise, she was one of the 2 kids that we needed to look at fouling. So they had some big plays by those 2, and we're close. We're not where we want to be, but I feel like we're getting a little closer.
You cut it to 7, and then they went on another little run, got back to 14, I think. What's kind of the mindset in there? There's only about 8 minutes left. What's going through in the timeout there?
Well, I think I told him at the 12-minute timeout when we were it was 7-ish. I said, I asked him, how did you get yourself back in the game? And I just talked about, what we had done from a ball movement standpoint, and we'd cleaned up our transition defense. We were better. I thought we gave him a couple. We're not good enough defensively that we can give up any easy baskets, and we gave up a couple really easy ones in the first half on just transition where we're not talking, and that's part of being a younger team. But I don't know. We've gone through patches where we can't score the ball, and at the end we went. We went small at the end. I mean, we took. Bree didn't play the last 10 minutes. Bailey Norby didn't play the second half, but we're a better offensive team when we can play Alexis at the 5 and play somebody else, because we're just harder to go. The way she can shoot it and put it on the floor, we're harder to guard that way. And but we also, some of those kids aren't used to playing maybe that many minutes, and so that probably, I think when you work your way back, sometimes you let fatigue hit you a little bit and don't fight through it. So I mean, that might have been part of it, but they're a good team and they execute, so they're going to go on runs too. And it seemed like but I agree that I think that was a key stretch, because if we could have just kept it under 10 the whole time, I felt like offensively, we're a good enough 3-point shooting team that, and in this building, if we hit 2 in a row, it kind of changes the game. And I think that's what happened. We just were a little too far behind when we made that last run.
Making shots is, a huge part of the comeback, but how much of an effect did Marissa's defense on Rachel in the second half kind of allow you guys to, string stops together and get on the run?
Yeah, I mean, Marissa's getting first of all, Loudermill did a great job on Marissa, and when either Ramachiri or Jeffrey was on her, those two did a really nice job. And what we've tried to keep telling Marissa is there's so many ways that she can impact the game, and sometimes I think, she'll put pressure on herself to be the scorer that maybe she thinks we need, and we certainly need her to create a lot of attention and a focus on their part. But I think there's just, I'm trying to talk to her about different ways that she can impact the game. And I think defense, I think I like that she ratcheted it up defensively, and I felt like she didn't force plays in the second half at all. She made, and I think that's, she's just gotten so much attention early in the year from defenses that it's only natural maybe that she's forced a little bit, and that's been a conversation that we've had over the last 10 days or so, and so I think she made a jump there, and just like you said, being a little more committed defender. She's a good defender, but she can be. I've always said you can be an elite defender because you've got feet and you've got fitness, and you move your feet well and you're fit. So there's no reason she shouldn't be an elite defender, and that's part of the evolution of her game.
I guess when you look at these last 2 first halves you played, is there any common thread that leads to those struggles?
Well, I think, like I said, I just think, and I think our kids are extremely coachable, but I think there's a slight difference between what I'm telling them and what they think is appropriate ball movement or necessary ball movement, and that we have to move the ball side to side and make teams guard for several passes before, and I think that's when we're going to be at our best. We have, you see the improvement that Alexis has made, and MC McGrory and Sydney to play 30-some minutes against Nebraska, and her, less than 10 games into her career. I think she's, I'm optimistic, but I just think that there's a lot of times there's resistance to ball movement because, you know, sometimes it's a little easier to think that you can make a play a little earlier than you can, and that's. But like I said, when you look up and you see you have 17 points, it becomes a little more. It becomes a little easier to commit to making them have to guard a little bit for a little bit longer period of time.
Did Alexis surprise you at all when she did that, or is that something that you see?
You know, she's a good shooter. She's gotten better. 6 for 6 is, you know, you're not going to have too many nights like that. But I mean, if she'd have gone 4 for 6, it wouldn't have surprised me. But you know, what I loved about her was you know, she knew that when you know you're in the zone and you're willing to keep doing that, I think that's a big step forward for her as a player. And you know, I think it was a little over 12 minutes, and I took her out because I thought she had just hit a 3, but I knew she's probably going to play most of the majority of the half, and the assistant coaches were like, why is he taking her out, because she's the only one scoring. But I felt like, you know, even just to get her another minute around that media timeout. But she's a very good shooter, and we've talked to her a lot over the course of her career about we'd rather have her shoot the ball than drive it sometimes. I think she's been a little more inclined to shot fake and put it on the floor, and we've spent, you know, a little bit of time saying I'd rather have you shoot at 60 or 70% of the time and drive at 30 or 40, and I would guess over the course of her career those numbers have been reversed.
You're still got a tough stretch, but you got some of them at home for the non-conference. But do you feel like this schedule is getting out of your team what you wanted to get out of your team so far through 9 games?
Yeah, I feel like I know our team better, and I think that's any coach wants to know what you have and how it kind of all fits together. And you know, and I'm not saying I have many of the answers, but I think I have some of the answers based on, you know, who's done what through this period of time and what's been successful and what hasn't been successful. And you know, we've played 3 top 15 teams, and you know, UConn's on a different level, but you know, this was way more competitive because it was, you know, it helps being at home. I mean, if we're down, you know, no offense to Northern Iowa, but if we're down 16 at half against Nebraska in that environment, that's a little different than being down 16 at Northern. So.
Take one more kind of question for Coach Miner, and he'll be available